Welcome back to another episode from Pro Engineering. The truck that we're looking at here is based on the original Tamiya Bruiser, which came out in the 1980s. Now, although this is the P407, the product that I have to show here will also work on the 2012 Bruiser re-release and the Mountain Rider. Now, what we're talking about here is not something that's going to help performance or anything, but it's going to help cosmetics. The Bruiser always had a front axle that was narrower than the rear axle. Now, this always bothered me just because of its cosmetics. And the Bruiser's hub, and I'm just going to just take this tire off that I've already unscrewed, has a very unique 3-hole hub design. And this means it's not really that easy to offset the wheel. Usually with more modern cars with hex drives, you could always just throw in a couple of washers to push it out a millimeter or two. But in this case here, we're talking about a difference from the front to the rear axle of between 12 and 16 millimeters. It's a little hard to get an accurate number because there's a little play in the axles vertically and the tires are soft, so it's around there. So what we have here to remedy the problem is a 7 millimeter thick spacer that will slide directly over the hub. Now, this spacer, mind you, is hub-centric. This means that the clearance around the screws is not what aligns the wheel to the axle, rather the inside face of the hub and the outside ring on the hub. With the wheel off, we will take our hub and just slide it directly over the car's existing hub. What's very important to note is that the fitment of this hub onto the car's original hub should be fairly snug. Please note that I have a very small sampling of cars to test from, so bearing any manufacturing flaws, it should just barely sit directly on there without any kind of up and down or lateral play. And the reason for this is we want to make sure that the wheel remains hub-centric. All high-quality OEM full-size car wheels are usually hub-centric. What we're going to do is just shift that alignment from the hub through this adapter and onto the wheel, and that is what this lip is for. To add the wheel, you're going to have to get a 16 millimeter long M3 machine screw to replace the original ones for obvious reasons. And we'll just take our wheel and line it up, looking through the little holes as best we can. And now we'll just drop our screws in. Now, once this upgrade is completed, you will have increased the front track of the vehicle by 16 millimeters. Now, that is not an insignificant amount. It's actually quite surprising, the difference between the front and the rear offset. I don't blame Tamiya for doing anything poorly or incorrectly. Remember, they were reusing parts from the original Hilux that came out before the Bruiser. And although I don't have one, I do suspect that the additional components in the hub of the Hilux that actually had a lockable front hub spaced the front tires further apart. And when they deleted that for the Bruiser, it brought them back in a bit. So I suspect that is the main culprit of this. But now we are going to have a significantly more accurate representation of how a raised Toyota pickup would be. And as you can see, the front and the rear wheel track is nearly identical. Of course, in order to determine how thick to make the spacers, I did measure the front and the rear axle, which gave me a very accurate number. So I was able to extrapolate and get my 16 millimeter unit. But this is it. This is what you need to do if you do want to have your Bruiser with a proper front and rear stance. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this was a very quick and easy upgrade, but it has been on my list for quite some time now. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more, especially for the Bruiser. We will see you next time.